Roland sat motionless in the back seat of the black SUV, his hands clenched into fists on his lap. The hum of the convoy's tires on the winding roads of Montego Bay was the only sound surrounding him, but inside, his mind was screaming. His heart ached, deeply, painfully, like someone had cracked open his chest and left it bleeding. Hello, friends. Welcome to Part 2. Please take a moment to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. For 3 years, Kelly had been his everything. He had loved her fiercely, tenderly, wholly. And now, some greedy, heartless soul was trying to take her away from him. And for what? Money? Revenge? Jealousy? His phone buzzed, breaking through his spiral of thoughts. It was Dion. "Hey, I'm so sorry," she said, her voice shaky. "I can't make it. My mom collapsed this morning. She's being rushed to the hospital. I have to be with her." Roland swallowed hard. Take care of her. I hope everything's okay. But something in his gut twisted. Wrong time. Wrong day. Too convenient. Still, there wasn't time to think. Kelly needed him. As the convoy of unmarked police vehicles crept through the hills toward the remote location, Roland's hands trembled on his thighs. He looked out the window, watching the dense green blur of trees. His mind raced. What if they were too late? What condition would they find her in? Was she hurt? Terrified? Alone? Tears welled in his eyes. He didn't try to stop them. The only woman he'd ever truly loved was out there somewhere, held captive, her fate hanging by a thread, and he had no idea why. Who could be so cruel? Who would want to destroy something so beautiful between them? He was a man of logic, of numbers, of reason. But today, he was ready to burn the world down if it meant bringing Kelly back home. Kelly lay on the cold, cracked tile floor, her body aching from hours of being bound. Her wrists were rubbed raw, her ankles sore. Her silk travel dress was wrinkled and dusty. Her long, soft hair clung to her damp cheeks. She could barely move. Hunger gnawed at her stomach. Her lips were dry, her throat parched. Fear had carved itself into her bones. The 2 men who had dragged her from the hotel had never left her side. They sat just outside the room, one always by the door, the other pacing. "We'll be rich soon," one muttered. "She's our damn meal ticket." Kelly's eyes stung with tears. Meal ticket? Like she was a product, not a person. Every time she dared to ask questions, how they knew her, what they wanted, one of them would stomp in, shove a gag into her mouth, and storm back out. She was only allowed to speak when they removed the gag to give her a slice of stale bread and a cup of lukewarm water. That had been once, nearly 8 hours ago. But something had shifted. She heard a new voice now. A third man. His tone was sharper, more commanding. Kelly strained to listen. The sound was muffled through the thin walls, but one sentence froze her blood. "Our location's been compromised. We need to move now. Once the money hits the account, we get rid of her." Her breath caught in her throat. "No!" She turned her head toward the door, her heart racing. The door opened. In stepped a man she knew well. Kevin, Dion's boyfriend. Her breath hitched. Her mind spun. Was he here to rescue her? Had he found her? But the look in his eyes said otherwise. Smug, cold, cruel. He crouched beside her, removed her gag, and smirked. "Well, well, Surprised to see me, Kelly? She stared at him in disbelief. Why? Why are you here? What is this? Kevin? Why? Kevin chuckled, shaking his head. Why? He leaned in close. Money, baby, that's all. Dion and I are done living paycheck to paycheck. This right here, it sets us up for life. Dion. Kelly's stomach dropped. Her best friend. Her sister in spirit. She had sold her. Kevin stood, his tone now sharp. Let's go. Get her up. We're out of time. The two men grabbed her roughly, yanking her to her feet. But as they dragged her toward the door, it burst open with a crash. Police! Hands up! In the doorway stood Roland, his eyes wild with rage, Shane by his side, and behind them, armed undercover officers in plain clothes. Chaos erupted. One kidnapper lunged forward, tackled instantly by a cop. The other tried to flee. Shane caught him with a hard punch to the jaw that knocked him out cold. Kevin, frozen for a second too long, reached for his waistband. Roland slammed him against the wall, growling, "Touch anything, and I swear you won't live to regret it." Handcuffs clicked. Shouts echoed. Kelly collapsed, sobbing, into Shane's arms. "Thank God," she whispered. "I thought I'd never see you again." Roland gently pulled her from Shane and cradled her against his chest. "I've got you," he whispered. "I've got you now. I'm never letting you go." The police took Kevin and the others into custody, but the final arrest would come hours later. That evening, officers arrived at Dion's family home. She opened the door, shocked to see them. "You're under arrest for conspiracy to kidnap and attempted extortion," the lead officer said, reading her rights. Her parents and siblings looked on in stunned silence. None of them had known. None were involved. And the next day, at the police station, Kelly stood face to face with the woman she once trusted with her deepest secrets. "You were my best friend," Kelly said, her voice low but shaking. "I would have given you anything. And you gave me to criminals." Dion looked away. For the first time, the mask of arrogance cracked. "I was tired of being broke, of feeling like I owed you and Shane everything." "You didn't owe me anything," Kelly said, voice rising. "I loved you like a sister, and you sold me." Tears streamed down Kelly's face as she turned away, leaving Dion to face the consequences of her betrayal. But as she walked out, hand in hand with Roland, the air felt lighter. She was free, and this chapter was finally closed. A month had passed since Kelly had been rescued. The bruises had faded, but the memory lingered like a shadow behind her eyes. Yet through it all, Roland never left her side. He held her hand during the interviews, curled up beside her during sleepless nights, and whispered promises of forever when the silence felt too loud. And now she stood in his backyard, surrounded by candlelight and soft music, completely unaware of what was about to happen. Friends and family stood around, smiling but silent. Then she saw him, Roland. Her steps faltered when she realized what was happening. He walked toward her, slowly, reverently, and then dropped to one knee. "Kelly Houghton," he began, his voice shaking with raw emotion. "You were my miracle long before I realized I needed one. You've seen me at my best and my worst. You've loved me through my ambition, challenged me with your strength, and survived things that would break most people in half. I nearly lost you because of lies, because of betrayal, because I didn't protect what mattered most. But God gave me another chance, and I won't waste it. I love you more deeply than I've ever known how to say. and I want to spend the rest of my life learning how to show you. Will you marry me? Again? Kelly's hands covered her mouth, tears spilling freely as she nodded. Yes, she whispered. Yes, Roland, I will. The crowd erupted in quiet, joyful applause as he slipped the ring on her finger. A new one. Elegant, strong, radiant, just like her. Later that night, after everyone had gone home, Kelly and Roland sat on the back porch, wrapped in a warm blanket. She leaned her head on his shoulder, and for a moment, they just breathed together, hearts finally steady. Then Kelly sat up slightly, her hand resting gently on her stomach. I need to tell you something, she said, her voice soft, trembling with nerves and wonder. I found out yesterday. I'm pregnant. Roland froze. His eyes widened. Then joy flooded his face. You're serious? She nodded, smiling through tears. I am. He burst into laughter, a joyful, unrestrained sound that echoed across the lawn. Well, thank God our wedding is in a month, he laughed, pulling her into his arms. He kissed her belly, kissed her lips, kissed her tears. I can't believe this. A baby. With you. They held each other beneath the stars, both knowing this time. Nothing would be stolen. Nothing would be lost. Only love. And the future they were finally building. Together. The sprawling Houghton estate garden had been transformed into a vision of elegance. Rows of ivory chairs stretched across manicured grass. A blush and cream floral arch rose at the altar, twined with wisteria and vines, catching the breeze like ribbons of promise. A string quartet played soft melodies under a silk-draped canopy. And then she appeared. Kelly Houghton, glowing, radiant, and 4 months pregnant, stood at the top of the aisle in a custom off-the-shoulder gown. Her curly hair was pinned delicately to the side, her veil cascading behind. Everyone stood. Gasps, smiles, tears, but none compared to the look on Roland's face. Standing in a dove-gray tuxedo, eyes locked on her. Shane stood proudly beside her, offering her his arm with brotherly pride, while Roland's best man, a close childhood friend, waited at the altar. Kelly's maid of honor was a dear cousin from London, and little flower girls tossed petals ahead of her steps. At the center of it all, Roland and Kelly vowed again. I promise, Roland whispered, his voice thick with emotion, to guard your heart, to never stop learning you, to hold your dreams as sacred, and to walk beside you, even through fire, especially through fire. And I promise, Kelly said through tears, to love you in the sunshine and the storm, to remind you who you are when the world forgets, and to build a life that looks like grace. They kissed, and the crowd erupted. 5 months later, the cries echoed down the hallway. Their baby girl, Eliana Grace, had arrived just after 3 a.m. on a rainy Tuesday. Curly hair, soft brown skin, and her father's dimples. Roland wept openly as he held her for the first time. You're the reason I breathe, he whispered to the tiny bundle. You and your mama. Kelly, exhausted but glowing, watched them with quiet tears. From betrayal to beauty. God had written a better story than she ever could have imagined. And now, they were home, together, forever. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment. See you next time. And remember, love is free.